Let's do this. Are we ready? So welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Living with Audacity. I am your host, Aisha, and this is it. Now, not it forever. Don't worry, I don't want the people to get stressed and get scared. Your girl's not leaving. But this is the end of season 2. Season 2, guys. Like, I can remember when I just thought about initiating a podcast, super worried, stressed out, like, what was I going to say? Was I going to have enough things to talk about? Were people like it? Let me just tell you what I learned today. What I learned today is that your girl has received almost 100,000 views since starting this podcast. I have a little over 300 subscribers. And honestly, your girl is feeling herself in a big way. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think a lot of times when we start anything, like anything, business, podcast, a project, we hope it's successful. And we think about what success looks like. But success for me is finding out, let me get the exact number actually, 94.9 views on YouTube. 94.9 thousand views. Like, can you imagine 94.9 thousand people watching little old me? Can we take a moment to celebrate? I gotta take a moment to celebrate. This is why my best friend, when we do our podcast, Bestie Spilling Tea from Time, this is why she's had enough of me. Because your girl is always hype. But I need to big up myself because honestly, I stepped into this space just wanting to do a podcast, to be able to share, my experiences and just hopefully pour into people who sometimes feel like they're not deserving of greatness and stepping into their purpose and into their power. And to know that almost 95,000 people have tuned in, and I've been doing this podcast for under a year. Anyways, we're going to step into a little bit of a reflective piece. It's something that I like to do at the end of every season because it's an opportunity for me to share how I've grown. It's an opportunity to also do some deep reflection around like, what do I want the next season to be about? Because your girl's always coming in hot. We are December. I cannot believe we're already at the end of 2025 and that 2026 is just peaking, just waiting for it to make its appearance. But yeah, this has really been a little bit of a different season for me. It's felt deeper. It's felt more honest. It's felt more raw. It's felt more necessary. If I think about when I started, I think I started still very authentic, but still kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about, who I was in this podcast space, what I wanted to share. I think we all do that. I think anytime we step into something new, we are very cautious, especially when you're doing anything online, because I am exposing myself to a lot of love, but I'm also exposing myself to hate. And I've definitely received some not so nice comments. But as I shared before, your girl don't care because haters are going to hate. And that just motivates me to keep going. But for me, this podcast has truly stretched me in ways that I didn't anticipate, not just as a host, but as a woman who's learning more about herself, about who I'm becoming, how I'm showing up, the impact that I'm making, the influence that I hope I'm making on those, as I said, who feel like they haven't yet hit their stride or have even given up thinking like, you know what, this isn't my time and nothing's going to change for me. It's not true. Because if someone had said to me 10 years ago, Aisha, not even about the podcast, but you're just going to be in a place and space in your life where you are so affirmed in who you are, I would have been like, I don't really know. Always confident, always had a high regard for myself, but I am moving in a space where, again, you could tell me what you want to tell me. You could say what you want to say about me. You could hate, you could throw shade wherever you want to. But this girl is so affirmed in who she is and where I'm going, I cannot be derailed. And so with every episode, every guest that has come on, every moment that I myself have been pressed has been such a growing space to kind of even understand where I'm going. So at the beginning of this year, and I haven't yet quite figured out what my 2026 word is completely, but at the beginning of 2025, I said my word was refinement. Refinement for me was around how I was going to get sharpshooter focus, how I was going to hone in on the gifts and the skills and the impact I wanted to make. Not because I was a jack of many trades, but because when I first started this business, I didn't really know where my lane was. I thought I needed to do this and I needed to do this and I needed to do that. And it has been through these opportunities, through these personal experiences that I've refined who I'm becoming, but more so refined what I'm desiring to show up as, and what's the message that I want to employ to those who are subscribing, to those who watch me on YouTube, to those who watch me on Instagram and LinkedIn and all the places. And listen, there's 94.9 thousand of you that are tuning in. So obviously your girl's making an impact. But here are some of the lessons that I've learned that I hope over this last year you are learning, or if you haven't, that you're about to learn. And one of the first ones that came from me, and I had to write them down because there was a lot of lessons that came out of this year. Again, not all highs, but definitely through some lows, that my voice has become stronger the more I use it. Okay. What I've come to understand is that I need to open my mouth. I need to talk. I need to share. I need to impart wisdom that I have onto others. And that the more that I do it, my voice is more than a muscle. It has become a miracle. And when I say miracle, I mean, I'm not out here casting spells, but a miracle in that I have something to bring that is of value. I have something to bring that I hope shapes someone's narrative, negative narrative about who they were or how they thought they were showing up or what they thought they deserved. For me, this season has reminded me that clarity comes after courage. Okay, that I am really clear about what I'm doing. I'm clear about what I'm sharing. I'm clear about how I'm showing up. And that I've allowed myself to speak my truth. Because there was a time, that I put my truth in a little box because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. I didn't want people to think like, oh, is she thinking about or talking about me? Does she mean me? Have I negatively impacted her? And I'm still not here to throw shade, but I'm here to tell my story. I'm here to let people know that this once quiet, shy, demure, feeling very controlled, feeling very, shaped into how people wanted me to be, has emancipated herself from that. And that I am who I am supposed to be. I am who I am becoming. I am who I want to be every single day. And while I know who I am, ruffle some feathers. It makes some people uncomfortable. Some people just straight up don't like it. To that I say, oh well, sorry. And I have 5 fingers here. Guess which one I'm putting up. I know that sounds super facetious, but I say that because, again, I've reached this place in my life where like I have people that love me, who support me, who love me for who I am. And I'm grateful for that because it allows me to show up as my authentic self. So for those who are still finding their voice, for those who have found their voice, for those who are not yet sure of where their voice is at, listen, bring it. Because believe me, that quiver that was once prominent in your voice will be steady. It will be steady. I think there was a show that I talked about. That quiver that I used to have in my voice is gone. Because I know what I'm sharing. I know what I'm saying. I believe in what I'm saying. And it has come with work. It has not come easy by any means. But I want you to remember, one of my greatest lessons is that my voice matters and that I have purpose and that I will speak when and how I need to speak. The second lesson that I've learned is that audacity requires surrender. Now, let me tell you this. There was a time in my life, very recent, where I felt like everything had to be together. Like everything needed just to be like, you know, when they say ducks in a row, everything needed to be ducks in a row and demonstrate perfection, that everything was okay. And what I realized in being audacious is that I had to surrender it all. I had to surrender the perfectionism. I had to surrender this need for things to always move linear. I had to surrender thinking that I had all the answers, because it has been in some of those most hardest, disruptive, challenging moments that I became the most audacious, that I was forced to come up with the most bold responses and the most bold reactions that allowed me to see who I truly was, not who I thought I was. I realized that, again, this season has required me to rise in ways that I didn't think was possible, that I had to release. This was a big one for me, that I had to release roles that I had outgrown, that I had to release people that I had outgrown, that I had to release a narrative that had been placed on me that was never what I thought, but what was put onto me. That I had to release people who preferred me to stay demure and to stay quiet and to show up in the spaces that I needed to show up in. That is what it meant. That's what I've learned about being audacious, that I had to surrender to things that I knew that weren't good for me, even if those things were close to me. People, places, and things. Another big lesson, which is one that I'm about to learn the hard way, or that's being somewhat forced on me, is rest is a form of rebellion. So let me tell you about who Aisha was. I am someone who goes all the time, like to the point where even my parents would be like, Aisha, sit down, like sit down. Stop doing things. Stop sweeping. Stop cleaning. Stop cooking. Stop managing. Stop it. And a girlfriend of mine, big shout out to Jenna, gave me this beautiful gift towards a few months ago. And I can't remember the title, but basically that rest is a form of rebellion. And what it basically says is that in order for all of us to show up in our most optimal self, it actually requires rest. That rest is connected to holding forth to our boundaries, that when we hit a point where we know we're no longer optimizing our emotional self, our psychological self, our mental self, our physical self, that we require rest. And I'm going to tell you, it might seem easy for some. Resting was a struggle for me. It's something that I have not perfected by any means, still something that I'm working on. But honestly, what I realize is that we live in a society where we glorify burnout. I know that sounds harsh, but we glorify the people that we see working 28 hours a day, 12 days a week. We're like, yeah, they're doing something. They're really working hard. And we almost kind of shit on those that look like they're resting. But let me tell you something about that person who's resting. They're rejuvenating. They're rebuilding. They're rethinking. They're reinventing. They are absolutely doing all the things that those of us who are working around the clock can't achieve, because our brains and our body and our mind and our soul is tired. Okay? Rest is where we generate our power. Rest is where we get clear about our purpose. Rest is how we show up as our best self, not faking it, but in reality. And so for me, this season has really forced me to confront the pace that I was trying to keep, because a girl was trying to keep a pace. And thankfully, I have people in my life, my husband, my best friend, family, who are like, yo, the 100 miles an hour that you're operating at, you're going to hit burnout. And like, you would think I would know, because I experienced burnout already. I experienced what burnout was. And so I've had to take a real pause, a real look at myself to say, Aisha, if you desire to do the things that you desire to do, you're going to have to bring rest into your life in a real way. So really, rest allows us to show up restored instead of resentful. Let me say that again, okay? Rest allows you to show up restored and not resentful. And I want you to think about the moments in your life where you have done things with a bad attitude or in bitterness or resentful. You know, when someone's like, are you happy to be here? Yeah, I'm really happy. That lets you know rest is needed, right? So rest fuels creativity. It rebuilds clarity. Rest is what allows you to pour from overflow instead of depletion. You see, when I talk about you cannot pour from an empty cup, I am a firm believer that what I need to be giving to people is what's overflowing, because I'm constantly in a state of optimization, right? And I remind you that rest is not weakness, it is revolutionary. So remember, rest is a must when we talk about what it means to live with audacity. The next one is your story is someone else's medicine. So for me, this has been a really big eye-opener. And I can remember, actually, Shireen is one of the people in my life who said, I should give people more. Let people know more about you, about your story, about your journey. And it wasn't that I was ever comfortable or uncomfortable with telling my story. I think for a while I thought, well, what's so different about my story than anybody else? I went to school, I had kids, I got married, I did all the things. I, did what I was supposed to do, and eventually hit a point of burnout and realized that I need to stop doing what I had to do and really focus on what I get to do. But what I've realized in that quiet offering was that my story was maybe not the exact story of someone, but it gave someone hope that where they were at right now was not their end destination, right? That where you may be struggling, where there may be challenges, where you may feel like I have hit a wall, that you can hear the things that I've experienced, the things that I've shared over these last 2 seasons, the challenges, the highs and lows, and think to yourself, okay, you know what? I can do it. That where I'm at right now is not my end game. In fact, and I've said this before, that sometimes we feel our baseline is our top space when in fact it's not. That you might actually be at the very base level of your greatness, right? But sometimes when we don't hear other stories or when we don't hear other experiences, we think, oh, I'm the only one. And I've been there. So being able to be given, I'll say, a little bit of that permission and that ability to share, I think has allowed me to understand that, again, audacity comes in vulnerability, not just as a storyteller, but to let people know, listen, those shadows, those things that you might be working really hard to hide, bring them up and out. Because it is in those shadows, as I've said time and time again, where you unpack and reveal the greatest inner strength that exists within you. It doesn't happen when things are going well. When things are going amazing, I mean, we're just staying straight, right? We're just doing all the things in that great space. But when you are in a challenging space where you are required to dig deep emotionally and physically and spiritually to pull yourself out of what you deem to be a permanent state, that's when you unpack, right? Because the truth is, we often underestimate the impact of our truth because we're so used to surviving that we forgot how powerful our resilience is. It is easy to believe that the current state we're in is our status quo. But when you operate again from understanding that your story is your medicine and someone else's medicine, again, you're then required to confront some of those things that you maybe pushed aside, but also unpack how you got out of it. Because think about it. Where you are today is not where you were a month ago or 6 months ago or a year ago. You got through it. And we don't always give ourselves grace to think about, how did I get through? We just kind of think, you know what? I pushed forward. Yeah, you did. But what did you tell yourself that allowed you to push forward? What did you do to allow yourself to push forward? How did you relinquish a narrative that maybe you used to tell yourself about yourself that you let go of that allowed you to move forward? We don't take time. And I myself have had to take time to think, wow, Aisha, for those moments in your life that you have struggled and to be where you are at, give yourself grace and think about the tools and the aspects of yourself that you've pulled on to be in this place. Because I'll tell you, it did not happen by accident. It happened with intention. It happened with purpose. It happened with confronting people, places, and things that I knew were not serving me, that I had to let go of, right? And so we need to be able to give ourselves permission to share our story where we feel comfortable. There's a time and a place and a space, and we're not always ready to do so. But I feel like being able to share my story has really been a form of medicine, not just for others who've come back to me to say, Aisha, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for telling me that, again, I need to get it out of my head. Thank you for reminding me that my purpose is greater than even what I know to be reality right now, but it has also served as my own medicine. because it has allowed me and reminded me around how far I have come in my own journey. And my last one, and this is a big one, is that growth requires grief. Okay? Growth requires grief. And when I talk about grief, I mean it in the form of, what have you had to let go of? Who have you had to let go of? Right? I think in this journey, and I will say for myself, when I started living with Audacity, I was very focused on what are you becoming? How are you becoming? How do you show up bold? Right? That's still a huge part of living with Audacity. But I want to create space for what it is that I've let go of. What am I grieving? What did I have to cut off? Who did I have to cut off in order to step into this space? That's grief, right? Because grief isn't just about death. It is about loss. It is about giving up. It is about letting go of. And the truth is, you cannot step into your next version of yourself without grieving the one you're leaving behind. Because believe me, you are leaving something behind, right? It might be a good thing, and it likely is. It is a good thing, but it's okay to be sad for what it is that you've had to give up, because likely it is connected to people and things that also have to stay in place as you move forward, right? Whether it was the habits that you held, maybe it was the people. That's a big one. The people that you loved. There might be dreams that you have outgrown. There might be places that you stayed too long that you realize, I stayed here because it's what I thought I had to do. Grief. It's okay to grieve. And there's things, again, as I continue to reflect, that I thought, I just moved on from. No, I can see where I grieved. I can see where those losses still impact me and how they impact me. But I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be sitting in that discomfort. I'm going to be honest. I think, again, if I had talked about this, sitting in discomfort 2 years ago, I'd have been like, nope. Who wants to be uncomfortable? No. The discomfort is what has allowed me to understand where I'm at and where I'm going, and why I've had to make decisions that I've had to make, even if it was difficult to make. It has been both necessary. It has been a part of who I'm becoming. And one of the things that I had written out, that I wrote out because I wanted to make sure, is that growth asks, what are you willing to release? And grief answers, what you loved, what you knew, and what once felt safe. I'm going to say that again, right? Growth will ask you, what are you willing to release? And grief answers, what you loved, what you knew, and what once felt safe. And even in that tension, even in that moment, there is beauty. Because again, you're required to dig deeper and look insular and really identify, what are you carrying forward with you? And what are you saying thank you to, but having to leave there, right? There's gratitude in this process. Oh, listen, I feel like I'm oozing gratitude. Maybe you can't see it, but believe me, I am grateful. I am grateful for every door that has been shut, because it has allowed the right door to open. I'm grateful for the things that people have shared that haven't always been so kind, because it has allowed me to question or to challenge that narrative and to determine whether that's what I really believed, or if in fact I believe something differently. I want to thank those who have openly and lovingly shared their feedback, their support, their critique in a positive way. And when I say positive, and because when we hear the word critique and positive, it sounds almost oxymoronic, but critique has been valued for me, has been a very valuable insight for me. Right? Because I know what I'm getting is, again, the requirement to look deeper into myself. I'm grateful for my community. Woo, I have a community. I really do. People that I don't even know, that have shown love, that have given me my flowers for all the ways that I've shown up. I'm grateful to my community, for the people who show up week after week. 94.9 thousand people who've watched the episodes. Honestly, I'm humbled. I am humbled. And I know for the big time YouTubers who have millions of viewers, you're probably like, oh my God, it's only this. But let me tell you again, when you step into a space where you had no other desire other than just to make an impact and to just show up and to do something different and to get that kind of feedback and to hear those numbers, listen, I am humbled and I am grateful. And that just gives me that much more motivation to keep going. I am really looking forward to season 3. I am looking forward to going even deeper, to bringing guests like the guests I had this season. Listen, top tier. I learned so much from them. And what I also realized is that I have some really wicked people in my life. I have some really dope people doing incredible things in my life. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I am like one big giant cute ball with a fedora and some knee-high boots. Grateful. That's where I'm at. And for season 3, what is season 3? I haven't yet fully decided what season 3 is going to be about. But again, it's going to be what season 2 was, but even more elevated. And I haven't totally, as I said before, I don't really know what my word is for 2026. It's coming. But what I can tell you is that season 3 is going to be about reinvention. It's going to be about rebirth. It's going to be about reclaiming. And a big one for me, radical self-belief. Okay? Radical self, not just self-belief, but radical self-belief. Because what I've come to understand even in my own journey is that the things that I have achieved is because of that radical self-belief. Not delusion, because I know my weaknesses, I know my shadows, but I know my strengths. But I believe in myself so much. I believe in myself so much. I'm Snoop Dogg, right? Last but not least, I want to thank me. That's me. I believe that the things that I put effort into will become something. I believe that the narrative that I tell myself about myself is what allows me to take away or negate sometimes the hating and the negativity that comes with putting yourself out there, not just on this podcast, but just out there in the world. I have radical self-belief and I want to pour and speak deeper about that because when, again, we talk about living with audacity, it isn't about how other people are giving me accolades and value and worth. It is about the radical self-belief that I have about myself to show up as my most audacious self, irrespective and irregardless of how people see, view, think I should be operating. Okay? This version of Aisha, I might have to be like, what was that? Curious George, the man with the hat. My fedora is about to get higher, guys. I'm about to come with even bigger fedoras. I got to think about some new fedoras also. I know I just went off topic because I feel like I've run through all the colors, but your girl, season 3 is going to come. Maybe I should add something new. I do the glasses. I do the fedora. This is not what I had on my script, but tell me. What are some things I should, maybe shoes. No, I do shoes also. I don't know, your girl. See, I'm just out here doing all the things, living audaciously. I don't know. I'll think of something. Stay tuned for season 3. But here's what I am calling in for season 3. More conversations that challenge how we see ourselves in the world. Stories that push us emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. I'm looking for guests who embody raw authenticity and live wisdom. And some of the ones that were on the show, they're going to come back because we just touched the tip of the iceberg. More truth telling, more, I don't know what, more truth telling and more just showing up as our authentic selves and louder, more unapologetic. I don't know if I can get louder. I just recorded a show with my best friend and our 2 daughters and my daughter told me I was loud and I was like, she's right. So imagine me getting louder. I don't know, but it's coming. But for me, I don't know. I'm sitting here grateful, grinning from ear to ear, humbled with just a deeper commitment to showing up even better in season 3. And so as I bring this last episode of season 2 to an end, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your support, for your love, for your ideas, for your sharing, for just all the things. And I want you to remember that your audacity is not a phase. It is a commitment. Okay. This isn't a moment in time Being audacious is a permanent state. So stay committed to your journey. Even if you aren't where you want to be, stay committed to the process. And allow, this declaration today to be the first step in what it means to live audaciously. Okay. I want to thank you for riding with me. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for choosing yourself. Because when you choose me, you choose you. Okay. Because honestly, and I say that wholeheartedly, because it means that hopefully you are ready to just receive information, to receive experience, to receive energy that reminds you that you are great, that you have purpose, that you have power, that you are bold, that you are unapologetic, and that you are here to live audaciously. And so signing off for my last episode of season 2, I want to wish you all just continued amazingness and get ready for season 3. I'm your host, Aisha. This is Living with Audacity, closing off season 2.